Hello everyone, my name is Jabez, and today I will be talking to you about drones again. But this time I will focus specifically on GeoAI, or the use of artificial intelligence on geospatial data. To those who have attended my previous webinar, you might be familiar already with GeoNadir. Now they have new GeoAI tools that I will share today along with another software company called Flypix.ai. I hope these new tools will be useful to you in your biodiversity conservation research. Here's the outline for today's discussion. What is GeoAI in the first place? Let me read this definition from Esri. Geospatial artificial intelligence is the application of artificial intelligence fused with geospatial data, science, and technology to accelerate real world understanding of business opportunities, environmental impacts, and operational risks. Organizations are modernizing operations to run at scale through automated data generation and approachable spatial tools and algorithms. Now, in our case, we will be using GeoAI for ecological and environmental purposes, particularly biodiversity conservation. To continue, Esri describes GeoAI further. In GeoAI, we extract rich geospatial data with deep learning, save time by automating the extraction, classification, and detection of information from data such as imagery, video, point clouds, and text. Perform predictive analysis using machine learning, build more accurate models, detect clusters, calculate change, find patterns, and forecast outcomes with spatial algorithms backed by experts. Detection and classification are two of the main things that we will be exploring today in this webinar. Since the last webinar, GeoNadir, an Earth observation software company, has added new tools to collect more insights from our uploaded drone datasets. Last time, we talked about the potential applications of GeoNadir in forests over limestone research, and we tested GIS tools on an actual dataset in the Philippines from the GeoNadir library. Now let's explore some new GeoAI tools that make drone image analysis more intuitive and efficient. First up is the Magic Wand tool. This tool is like a shortcut for your mapping projects. With just a click, it automatically digitizes features by recognizing similar objects. It's particularly effective for smaller, detailed elements like tree canopies and shrubs, or continuous or homogeneous surfaces like water or sand or soil. By right-clicking desired features, say a particular tree species, an orange dot with a plus sign will appear. To avoid detecting other features on the landscape, left-click on them and a blue dot with a negative sign will appear. Now, what used to take hours manually digitizing and measuring features, GeoNadir can do in just seconds. Next, we have the Feature Finder tool, this one. Similar to Magic Wand, this tool digitizes features automatically. The difference is that it uses text prompts to find and digitize objects on the image. You can type trees, buildings, or cars, and it will detect these automatically. But it focuses only on what is visible in the current frame rather than the entire dataset. It's a great way to target specific areas of interest that require a high level of detail, like forest canopies or coral reefs. Finally, we have the random forest classification tool. In contrast to the first two, this method takes a more comprehensive approach by classifying features based on similarities across the entire dataset. You can classify land cover or land use using this method. You can perform either an object or pixel-based classification. It even provides an accuracy report so you know just how reliable the results are. Now, each of these tools offers a unique advantage. making your drone analysis faster and more precise. In the next slides, we'll see a demo of the Magic Wand and the Feature Finder in action. In this Magic Wand demo, we will try to digitize tree canopies. Every time we digitize, an equivalent measurement is given and shown on the left-hand panel. You can create separate layers of these polygons for different tree species. What's great with drone data is that you can see the differences in the color and size of the leaves. When you click the statistics button, graphs will appear to show the area distribution of each species. This method is useful when we use a drone to validate vegetation maps derived from satellites. So here in this demo, I'm just uh, labeling the polygons that we digitized, and then we select both layers, and then we click the statistics tool, and you will see here the measurement of each tree that we digitized. Okay, using the same data set, we will now try the Feature Finder tool. As you can see in the demo, the Feature Finder digitizes all the features that the AI can identify using the text prompt trees. Though this method is faster when digitizing, it doesn't distinguish between plant species yet. Though this works now with plants with more distinct canopies such as coconuts and bananas. So as you can see in this demo, when you type trees, it gives you a measurement of all the canopies that it has detected in this given landscape. From finding and digitizing trees, we go now to classification. To start a random forest classification, or RFC, this is a method of classifying objects on an image. It uses multiple decision trees to identify something. That's why it's called a forest. An RFC uses both vector and raster data to come up with a classification map. The first step is to collect samples of an object using polygons. So in this example, I collected samples of bare ground, of vegetation, of roads and buildings. You can do this manually, or the magic wand or the feature finder can do the digitizing for you and create the polygons that you need. Once you have decided on your classes, so for example, in this map, our classes is divided into four: vegetation, bare ground, buildings, and roads. You can now run the random forest classification. The RFC will ask you which raster data to use. Now, GeoAI will give you several options on which data to use for the classification. It can be the RGB orthomosaic. It can be the greenest index, especially ideal for vegetation. You can use the digital surface model or the digital terrain model. This is based on height and elevation data. And you can also use a separate height data. You can choose a combination of these rasters or just one. You can also choose whether to use an object-based or pixel-based classification. Now, my advice is just to use one raster or just two rasters at a time. So the RFC will have an easier time looking for the objects that you need. Here's an example of an RFC to look for water hyacinth in Laguna Lake. So we classified the dataset into two, so just water hyacinth and other. So this was done just to isolate which is the water hyacinth and which is not the water hyacinth. For the raster, we used the greenest index data, and the classification here is based on pixel values. So the hyacinth has certain greenest index value. So the random forest classification looked for that and then found it here near the lake shore and on the lake itself. As you can see, it has detected water hyacinth in the lake here, the green dots. Okay, so in addition to GeoAI tools GeoNadir has also introduced two game-changing features. So the first one is the heat map. It is an effective way to visualize patterns and changes in conservation areas. Now, using vector data, either from uploaded shape files or generated within the GeoNadir ecosystem, using the magic wand or feature finder tools that we learned earlier, the heat map can visualize this using different cell sizes. It really depends on the research objectives, which cell size to use. So in this image, you can see here, we generated a heat map of flooding in a project that we have in Santa Rosa, Laguna. So the same method can be applied to digitize flora and fauna. So in this visualization, you can see where the floodwaters are using this heat map. Okay, now GeoNadir used to be a platform only for drone images, but now we can integrate satellite data to add more context to our monitoring and analysis. Since Sentinel-2 is free, we can add new images at least every 5 days. This is particularly helpful when we are monitoring large areas such as watersheds, protected areas, and conservation areas. But it doesn't stop with RGB images though, like this one. We can also view multispectral imagery in standard false color, which is near infrared or near red and green bands, and false natural color, which is shortwave infrared or SWIR, near and green bands. Unlike the other tools, Sentinel-2 is free, by the way. So even if you do not have a pro account, a professional account in GNadir, if you only have a free one, you can still have access to the Sentinel images. So instead of flying the drone to capture large areas of land in our conservation sites or project sites, we can only focus drone data collection in specific areas that need validation based on the Sentinel-2 imagery. Here's an example of that. In this example in Santa Rosa again, we used a standard false color image as a satellite-based map to isolate and visualize vegetation cover. So the vegetation will appear as red. And then we zoomed into an area where the drone image validated the presence of grasses near the lake. So this is near the lake shore. The yellow boundary that you see is a polygon we generated within GeoNadir to outline the entire area captured by the drone. Now, if you switch on to drone view, you can see that there is presence of plants near the lake shore. And if we zoom in further, you can see that this lakeshore area is already inundated by flood. So that's for GeoNadir. I will introduce you to a new software. It's called flypix.ai. So early this year, I was invited to try this online software. And similar to GeoNadir, it analyzes drone data using AI. Now, finding objects on the landscape. So this software allows you to detect objects such as trees, trash, vehicles, and buildings. But what's different with this software compared to GeoNadir? It specializes finding and identifying objects on the ground across the entire data set. Okay, the entire drone data set. Flypix AI allows the user to detect objects in a drone dataset or satellite image, such as trees, vehicles, buildings, and even objects as small as pieces of trash along coastlines. Okay, so I'll explain this using an example. This is for a mangrove area for one project. We will try to count the number of mangrove trees in this dataset. So we will collect samples by annotating a few trees in these highlighted regions. So it doesn't have to be a lot. And then under vegetation here, we will label this as a mangrove class to differentiate it from other tree species in our object detection because we can find several species of plants, of trees in this map, but specifically we're looking for mangrove. So we will label that as mangrove. So we only need a few samples to train the AI model to find our desired species. or objects of interest within the coverage of the dataset. Now, we can always correct errors whenever the model misidentifies something. So this will take some time looking for your desired species of mangrove that you are looking for, or depending on the project that you have. So we can even be more specific. What species of mangrove are you looking for? So for this example, we're just looking for generally mangrove trees. Okay, so once we have trained the AI model, we can run it. And now in this data set, the AI model has detected 500 supposed mangroves in a 5,000 square meter sampling area. So the entire drone data set is 5,000 square meters. Now we can filter this further and increase accuracy by selecting only those with 90 or 100% confidence. It really depends on the thresholds we set for our research. So you can set it up to 50, 80, but for this example, we set it to 90 to 100. So based on this, they found around 500 trees. So if you remember, GeoNadir's AI tools only detect objects within the current frame of view. So in other words, kung ano lang yung nakikita mo sa screen, yun lang yung nade-detect ng AI. In contrast, when we train the GeoAI model in FlyPix AI, it looks for that specific object or species in the entire data set. So this works for me when counting trees especially. So whenever a project calls for counting a number of, for example, coconuts, coffee trees, I use this tool. Now let's have some examples on fauna. Okay, now, so here are some of my posts from our Facebook group, Drones for Research. So I encourage you to join that group. That is where I post some tutorials and some research about drones and Earth observation in general. And I found these data sets with seabirds on it. So by the way, you have to zoom in very closely to see the birds, because when you browse the dataset library in GeoNadir, you will see datasets that look like this. So you have to zoom in so you'll be able to see the birds, okay, the avifauna. Since the birds are contrasting the white sand background, they are pretty much easy to detect, meaning the AI model can detect these birds easily because they're on the sand. The problem arises when they are camouflaging and blending with the vegetation. So that's where the difficulty starts, when they're blending with their surroundings or the background vegetation. Here's a combination of Magic Wand and Feature Finder tools applied on a sampling area of seabirds. So this is it. And as I was looking for data sets with mammals, kasi the previous examples are all seabirds, it's pretty difficult to look for data sets with wildlife in them, because some data sets don't have descriptions, so you're not really sure what you're looking for. So the seabird data sets, I found these by accident. And even this one, when I was looking for data sets with mammals in them, so I zoomed into this data set, and then I stumbled upon these small goats on this small island. So when you're just looking at the data set, you won't see the goats, so you have to zoom in, and then I found them here. So the drone was flying really high at around 95.60 meters, and the goats are not really visible from that altitude. You have to zoom in to see them. So there aren't a lot of data sets yet with wildlife in them, but the goal is not really to find the animals using the drones, because this will disturb them. Rather, we need to fly the drone high in areas where there are reported sightings and do the detection post data collection. Okay, so we will not be able to disturb the ecosystem. Now, it's not just for terrestrial ecosystems. We can also use this in marine ecosystems. We can also look for corals and fish in marine ecosystems. Here's an example of a data set I found, again by accident, captured by Joanne Lee. of geonadir. So as you can see, the corals are well defined once you zoom into the data set. So the resolution is really good. And then once you have determined that there are corals in this area, you can upload the data set into 5pix AI and then get some samples of what corals look like and let the AI model do its job. Okay, so this is a particularly big data set. So you have to zoom in and look for these corals if you want to see them in great detail. Here's an example of fish swimming. I'm not really sure what species of fish this is, but at least we know they are present in this coral reef. You can visit this dataset yourself using the link shown on the screen. So to log into GeoNadir, you only need your email, no password needed, and you can view all the datasets there in the Fair Global GeoMap. You can even save the raw images and the orthomosaics by right-clicking on the map and saving it as an image. For Flypix AI, they have a free option. So if you're just exploring, you want to see how AI models work in object detection, you can try it out by going to the website of Flypix AI. Now, depending on the objective, the researcher can use either GeoNadir or Flypix AI or both. GeoNadir excels in data management and sharing insights quickly. Flypix AI, on the other hand, can be used in finding objects in large datasets. If the objective is either conducting a survey or inventory of species, Flypix AI is recommended. But if you are working with several data types like drone and satellite data, even ground data, photos from the ground, GeoNadir is recommended. You can download datasets in GeoNadir and upload it to Flypix AI for object detection. So that is currently how I'm using both software. While GeoAI is a cool and convenient new tool for us researchers, we must first ask ourselves why we need GeoAI in the first place. It should be clear to us why we need this technology because AI itself is not good for the environment. We must choose how we use GeoAI and use it only for important things such as teaching and research and not for generating memes or other things that are less important. Okay, so thank you everyone for listening. Here are some examples of my tutorials and workshops with wildlife students from UPLB. So sometimes they visit me and then we conduct drone flying workshops and drone mapping workshops. And we look for plants, for animals in vacant fields. So if you're interested in conducting this, please feel free to contact me here at bit.ly/jmf, or you can email me at jbsjoshuaflores@gmail.com. And before I go, I would like you to subscribe to my YouTube channel for GeoNadir tutorials at Angus Maps and join Drones for Research on Facebook. Thank you everyone for listening and see you later at the Q&A.